Hi girls! I am glad to see you in our fourth session of this e-conference series. Thank you for spending your valuable time with us on this beautiful Sunday. By the way, I am Ate Marielle Buscato from Negros Oriental-Siquijor Council, one of the official delegates of the Girl Scouts of the Philippines to the Juliette Low Seminar in Paxlage World Center, London, United Kingdom. And together with me in this session will be your Ate Angelika Biñas from Manila Council.
Thank you for that very wonderful introduction, Ate Marielle. Hello everyone! Jumbo, kumusta kayo? I am Ate Angge from Manila Girl Scout Council Central Luzon Region, and I am the official delegate of Girl Scouts of the Philippines for the Kusafiri Hub in Tanzania, Africa, for the Juliette Low Seminar.
Today, we will lead for girls' empowerment. Hence, we will be sharing to you another WAGGGS leadership mindset, the Gender Equality Mindset. Let's get started. With the Gender Equality Mindset, we want you girls to take gender into account when practicing leadership and challenge gender stereotypes. Understand the impact of gender barriers and empower yourself and others to recognize and overcome them. Most importantly, we want you to champion the value of being a girl-led movement. How did gender equality mindset begin? Girl guiding and Girl Scouting started because girls demanded to have the same opportunity as boys. That is a very concrete example of girls practicing their gender equality mindset, as it is about creating opportunities for girls to thrive and develop their potential. Now, to fully practice empowering leadership, we need to develop knowledge and understanding of gender equality. First, let us define what gender equality is. According to UN Women, gender equality refers to the enjoyment of equal rights, responsibilities, and opportunities of girls, boys, men, and women. It does not mean that we are all the same, but our rights and opportunities should not depend on whether we are born male or female. Gender equality also implies that our interests, needs, and priorities of both men and women are taken into consideration, kung saan kinikilala ang pagkakaiba-iba ng mga grupo ng kababaihan at kalalakihan. Talagang issue ang gender equality sa ating lahat dahil ang kasarian ay idinidikta ng lipunan. Kung gayon, tinutukoy ng kasarian kung ano ang pinapayagan o pinapahalagahan sa lipunan. Ito ay nagreresulta sa pagkakaiba-iba ng oportunidad, responsibilidad na itinatalaga, mga aktibidad na isinasagawa, pag-access at kontrol sa mga mapagkukunan o resources, pati na rin ang pagkakataon sa paggawa ng desisyon. Kaya nahaharap tayo sa hindi pagkakapantay-pantay o inequality, where women and girls are being discriminated against and prevented from enjoying their human rights. This brings us to the principle that gender equality is a human right. When we talk about human rights, these are things that every person has that describe what they are entitled to be, to have, or to do. Rights is about respecting people's dignity and ensuring that they have the resources needed to participate, survive, and develop in society. Can you name some rights you're experiencing, girls? Comment them down below. Alright, now allow me to share to you two legal instruments on why gender equality is a human right. These are the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women. Our rights are written in an international document called the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, or UDHR. This is a milestone document in the history of human rights, as this is the formal recognition of the rights inherent to all human beings, which was adopted in 1948 by the United Nations General Assembly in Paris. Why is it important? Because it forms the basis of legislation, conventions, policies, and practice. All people have the same rights, and all rights are equally important. The UDHR clearly says that girls and women, and boys and men have the same rights. You can access the whole document on the link provided. Second is the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, or CEDAW. This is an international document which lists the rights of all girls and women. It is also considered as the Women's Human Rights Treaty and was accepted on the 18th of December 1979 by the United Nations General Assembly and ratified by 189 states. By the way, a convention is an agreement between countries to behave in a certain way. It sets standards or rules that must be followed to protect human rights. When a country ratifies a convention, it becomes a legal promise by the government. Ratification often leads the government to adopt and change its own laws to support the goals of the convention. Why is CEDAW important? Because it legally binds signatory governments to eliminate all forms of discrimination against women in public and private life, including within the family. And it aims to achieve substantive equality, where women are able to enjoy their human rights in practice and are given equal access to opportunities and an enabling environment to achieve equal rights. So governments that have ratified CEDAW have the duty to end discrimination faced by girls and women in their countries. You can access the whole document on the link provided.
Now that we've known the laws and policies regarding gender equality, let's now talk about numbers. How does number presents or reflects the gender equality here in our country? Now before I continue, I would like you to remember something, that I will only be presenting the numbers based on facts and statistics. How will you interpret it and how will you use it will be your decision to make. So, please remember that, and let's get started. Let's start with the world ranking. How does the Philippines stand compared to the world of gender equality? Now, let's have a guessing game. Okay, so I want you to guess what is the current rank of the Philippines according to the Global Gender Gap Report 2020. Okay, so yeah, it's kind of hard. There are 153 spots. I will give you a clue. Last 2018, we have the 8th place. Now, did we go higher or did we go lower? I will give you 5 seconds to think of the number. You don't need to comment it. You just need to think it. Okay, just place it on your mind. Do you have the number? Okay. So, we became lower than 8th place than 2018. How low? The Philippines now ranks 16th out of 153 countries all over the world, according to the Global Gender Gap Report of 2020. How did the Philippines get so low from 8th place and once a member of the top 10 on the Global Gender Gap Index to the 16th place? We will explore it later. But the Philippines boasts that it has the smallest gender gap among Asian countries. The second best from this Asia is the Lao PDR, which ranks 43rd. So we will explore the gender equality by 4 areas: the politics, health, education, and economics. How does gender equality runs and happens in these areas? According to the Global Gender Gap Report of 2020, by the World Economic Forum. Let's start with the labor force participation. 47.7% of our labor force are females, while 76.2% of our labor force are males. Now for our legislators, senior official and managers of our businesses, 52.7% of them are females, while 47.4% of them are males. While when it comes to professional and technical workers, 57.2% of them are females, while 42.8% of them are males. Now let's go to education. The literacy rate of a female is 98.2%, while the males have a literacy rate of 98.1%. So this is kind of win for the Philippines because we have the first place when it comes to literacy rate. There are almost zero when it comes to the gender gap of literacy rate. But the enrollment rate of our country is this. In elementary, the number of enrollees are 93.7% of them are females, while 93.9% of our enrollees in elementary schools are males. While in secondary, 71.3% of our enrollees are females, while 60.2% of them are males. For the tertiary education, 40.4% of our enrollees are females, while 30.8% of our enrollees in tertiary education are males. How about in health? Females are expected to live for 64.2 years average, while the males are expected to live 59.4 years average. So we're kind of okay for economy, we're really okay for education, and we're okay with the health. How about in politics? Yes. So in that graph, you can see that if it reached the end, it means that there are almost zero gender gap happening in that country. But in our country, the politics are kind of far away. Why? This downgrade is almost entirely influenced by the lower female representation in the cabinet, and also the female representation in our parliament, which was slightly down and stood at 28% at the beginning of 2019. In our parliament, did you know that 28.0% of our parliament consists of females, while 72.0% of our parliament consists of males? While in our ministerial positions, 10.3% of our ministers or secretaries are females, while 89.7% of them, of secretaries and ministers, are males. In fact, we have only 2 females in our cabinet and the head of our departments. We have Secretary Leonor Briones for the Department of Education and also Secretary Romulo Puyat for the Department of Tourism. Now, if you want to read more about gender equality and numbers, I have here a QR code where you can scan it and then it will automatically download the Global Gender Gap Report of 2020. So, we would like you to read more about the global gender here in the Philippines. So, now it's time for Ate Marielle to discuss another thing about gender equality here in the Philippines.
To further elaborate on why gender equality matters, allow me to share to you some highlights of the progress and remaining challenges for women in a range of areas. Can you share to me, girls, what areas or environments should women's presence be valued and recognized? And let us see how we are doing about it. Great! Now the question is, where are we today? In politics, the percentage of women in parliament has doubled in the last 25 years. But this only translates to around 24% of women in parliament today. For conflict, in 2000, the pioneering UN Secretary Council Resolution 1325 recognized that war impacts women differently and stressed the need to increase women's participation in peace talks. But from 1990 to 2017, only 8% of negotiators at peace tables were women. For wages, around 49% of the world's working-age women are in the labor force, compared to over 75% of working-age men. And globally, women earn 23% less than men. Talking about violence against women, in 1993, the UN General Assembly adopted the Declaration on the Elimination of Violence Against Women, which provided a framework for action on this issue. But more than 25 years later, 1 in 3 women still experience physical or sexual violence, mostly by an intimate partner. Moving on to senior management, 33 women CEOs lead Fortune 500 companies today, compared to only 1 in 1998. But this is a mere 7% of all CEOs on the list. For media, women's presence as news subjects in print, media, and television has only increased to 24% in 2015, from 17% in 1995. And only 9% of the news stories evoke gender inequality issues, while 4% challenge gender stereotypes. For maternal deaths, 44% fewer maternal deaths were recorded worldwide than in 1990. But 830 women still die every day from preventable pregnancy-related causes, and 99% of these deaths occur in developing countries. With regard to education, all developing regions have or have almost achieved gender parity in primary education. But the gender disparity widens at the secondary and tertiary school levels in many countries. When it comes to access to clean water, 7 in 10 people worldwide have access to safe, readily available water at home. But women still spend 16 million hours per day collecting water in 25 sub-Saharan countries. Lastly, on literacy, the adult literacy rate has risen to 86% from 76% in 1990. But women still account for 2/3 of the world's illiterate. There you have it, a picture of gender equality we have today.
That is a very interesting discussion, Ate Marielle. Now, let's talk about barriers in achieving the gender equality, not just here in the Philippines, but also in the whole world. Mainly, the first reason is patriarchy. Patriarchy is a system of society or government in which the father or eldest male is head of the family and descent is traced through the male line. Now, I will show you a picture. I will not explain it or interpret it. I want you to analyze it and give it some thought. Okay. The second reason and the second barrier for gender equality is child marriage and early pregnancy. Did you know that 1 in 10 young Filipino women 15 to 19 years old has begun childbearing, and 8% of them are already mothers. It means that they are already on their second child, third child, or fourth child in the age of 15 and 19. Also, the 2% of them are pregnant with their first child. You know the effects of child marriage and early pregnancy to women. It may cause them to stop going to school, and if they're working, it may cause them to stop working. Now, if you want to read more, you can read more about the 2013 National Demographic and Health Survey by scanning this QR code, and then it will automatically direct you to the website of the 2013 National Demographic and Health Survey. The third reason is because there are the case of domestic abuse. Did you know that 1 in every 4 women that you know, age 15 to 49, experience domestic abuse, and 40% of them sustained injuries due to spousal, physical, or sexual violence. Now, there are also barriers in our industry. There are also barriers in hiring and promoting women. Okay, so the first of them is there is a lack of work and life balance. We will explore that later. There are also unconscious bias among managers. This is unconscious. Sometimes your managers doesn't see it, doesn't feel this, doesn't know that they are doing it. But sometimes they favor boys or males when it comes to job opportunities, promotion, and projects than females. Sometimes they think that we can't do it because we are females. The third one, that is a barrier for hiring and promoting women, a lack of female role models. Who is your female role model? Okay? Did you have one? Because I have one. That's why girls doesn't pursue their dream, doesn't even know what their dream is. Because there are a lack of female role models. For example, engineers. That is a heavily male-dominated career. There are not a lot of female role models in the world of engineering. That is why maybe there are fewer girls who is pursuing engineering. The fourth one, that is a barrier for hiring and promoting women, is the lack of qualified incoming talent. The fifth one is the women's confidence and aspirations. And the last one is other barriers. This is according to the article of World Economic Forum titled Future of Jobs. The fifth one is power, rights, work-life balance, and gender violence. Yes, we cannot discuss this individually because they cannot be explained in isolation. They are connected with each other. For example, we know that it is happening, the gender-based violence. But how can we stop it? By making laws and policies. And there are lower representation of females in our decision making. Another example is work-life balance. What I'm showing you is a very powerful photo. She, a decision maker, is breastfeeding her baby while standing and speaking in her parliament. In spite of the unequal distribution of responsibility for the care and of the elderly, which creates dilemmas of work-life balance which are detrimental to women's quality of life and to women's life chances across social spheres. This photo represents that we women doesn't need to choose between life and career. We can have both because we are that powerful. And that is all for the barriers of gender equality. Do you experience some more barriers in achieving gender equality? Share it with us in the comments.
With the information that you are gathering and learning, I hope you are getting the importance of having a gender equality mindset. Aside from the earlier reasons I have mentioned on why we should practice gender equality mindset, we also want you to consciously take gender into account in our everyday life. Research and learn more about gender equality. Reflect on what inequalities we can see in our own lives. Recognize the mechanisms that limit leadership effectiveness because of gender barriers. Adapt our leadership practice to take gender into consideration. Lift other girls and women up. Empower them to become conscious of and overcome gender barriers. Challenge negative stereotypes against women. And lastly, actively seek gender equality. We are almost there, girls. By this time, I will be sharing to you 6 tips on how you will be able to practice the gender equality mindset. First, reflect on the small ways that you have unconsciously perpetuated gender norms. Gumamit na ba kayo, girls, ng mga gendered vocabulary expressions gaya ng magpakalalaki ka naman? O di kaya'y para kang babae kung umiyak? Nag-judge ka na ba ng isang babae dahil sa kanyang itsura? O di kaya'y naggulat ka na ba sa mga ginagawa, gusto at ayaw ng isang babae o lalaki dahil hindi naman sila yung typical na feminine at masculine? Second, celebrate the inspiring women in your life, the ones you know and the ones you don't know. Maglista kayo ng mga kababaihang nakakapag-inspire sa inyo at bakit. Magsulat kayo ng mga quotes na mula sa kanila sa inyong journal. Try nyo rin mag-discover ng one inspiring woman a month. Maging artist pa siya, athlete o activist. Naipahayag ba niya sa publiko ang mga hamon na kanyang nararanasan sa larangan ng kanyang trabaho? Third, organize challenges for yourself and your friends. For a month, read only books by women, listen to music only by women, or watch movies only by women. Mag-reflect kayo sa mga challenges na ito. Mahirap ba or nakakabigo? Ano sa tingin nyo ang ibig sabihin nito para sa posisyon ng kababaihan sa lipunan? Fourth, challenge gender stereotypes whenever possible. But don't forget that gender inequality is a subject that can get heavy and difficult. Bilang mga scouts o leaders, madami tayong nasa isip na gustong gawin. Sa kagustuhan natin ng pagbabago, labis na tayong gumagawa na minsan nakakalimutan na nating pangalagaan ang ating sarili. Take space for self-care, girls. And if your energy is low, don't forget to step back and direct people to other sources of information. Fifth, explore gender equality with men and boys around you. Maging bukas tayo sa komunikasyon. Discuss things that you might have experienced because you are a girl. Gaya ng harassment, periods, violence, harmful stereotypes, negative representation, o gendered marketing. At tingnan kung ang mga paksang ito ay naiisip din ba nila bilang lalaki. And if boys or men come to seek questions, cater to them upang maunawaan nila kung paano sila nakakaapekto at kung paano ka makakatulong. And lastly, talk to other girls and women in your organization. Huwag mahiyang makipag-usap. Magtanong ka. Paano ba nakakaapekto ang kanilang kasarian sa kanilang karanasan? Try to identify small ways which you can support and empower each other. Create spaces for your voices and practice leadership together. At kung nagtatrabaho ka naman kasama ang ibang babae, paano mo ba sila mabibigyan ng mga oportunidad to boost their self-confidence, opportunities to raise their voices and take the lead? With that, I'll end this session with a reminder that ending all forms of discrimination against women and girls is not only a basic human right, but It is crucial to accelerating sustainable development. It has been proven time and again that empowering girls and women has a multiplier effect and helps drive up economic growth and development across the board. In every country in the world, there are still inequalities between men and women. By reflecting and researching what those might be in our context, we can overcome gender barriers to leadership and create empowering spaces for ourselves and for the women and girls around us. Thank you for listening.
And now we are done. Thank you so much for listening today with us girls. Now I have here some post activities that you need to do after this video. Number 1 is to answer our evaluation form, which link can be found in the description down below. And number 2 is to do this activity, which entitled Aking Tingog, because it's your chance now to hear your voice. What will you do? In a hexagon, you will write small ways you can support and empower each other, create spaces for your voices, and practice leadership. How can you offer girls more opportunities that boost their confidence, opportunities to raise their voices and take the lead? It can be handwritten, and it can also be in the form of digital art. But the main point is, you need to do it in a hexagon. Post this on Facebook and challenge one more girl to find small ways to support and empower other girls by tagging them in your posts. Use the hashtag #AkingTingog and hashtag #GSPEmpowers. Now, here are your questions for your learning journal. Number 1, imagine you are a leader of your community. What will be your first step to achieve gender equality? Number 2, gender equality affects all of us in various ways, and the Philippines has one of the smallest gender gap in the whole world. Now it's time to reflect about your life from this perspective. How would you describe gender equality at your home, in school, and in your community? And that's all for Gender Equality Mindset, girls. I hope to see you soon, and I hope you learn a lot from me and Ate Marielle. Bye-bye!